You got one for kids, factory for kids.
Estas dos son las mismas, son para niños.
Here's some money, bro. Yeah, I got all a bunch of different little cranes. Nice.
We see about 25 patients a day here. Usually it's like respiratory stuff and diarrheas and kids under 5 years old. The stuff that they need to send to Children are pregnancies, the women are over 35 years old, bad diarrheas over 2 weeks, and pregnancies and deliveries too. So, but they said that they could handle some stuff. If they had connectivity, they said that they could handle a whole lot better some other problems that now they send out.
Dígame a Lady que me dé otro. ¿Otro qué?
Tener alimentación buena.
¿Tiene tos? ¿No tiene gripe? ¿Calentura? Sí, no tos.
38.
What type of information are you collecting?
Her name, her age, and the town that she's coming from, or the village. Tiene cura, eso no es que ya tiene cura, ya van a ver si puede alguien.
Necesario tomar medicinas para su corazón. This gentleman here has got a daughter who's got a severe heart problem, most likely a congenital ventricular septal defect, which has been kind of let to go for a long time. She's 17 years old. She's got shortness of breath on ambulation, lower extremity edema, cardiac exam extremely impressive. She's got a significant degree of heart failure. We're going to speak with the Minister of Science and Technology who's here today and see if he can help to arrange for them to be seen at the medical school in Tegucigalpa. She went to the clinic in Choluteca, and for the most part they really couldn't do much for her except start on medicine. We're giving her some additional medicine today which will help the hemodynamics of her cardiovascular problem. What she really needs is to see a cardiovascular surgeon and consider getting this, see if this can be fixed. Most likely this is still fixable. I don't think her heart's too far damaged, but we're going to exchange some email addresses here. You can communicate with us and let us know how things are going. We can communicate as well. This is a 17-month-old girl with what we call failure to thrive. She's not growing well, she's not eating well, she's just generally doing well. She's got a somewhat unusual, and so the question is what's going on with her. A somewhat unusual case with some mongoloid features. This is anything from the leading possibilities would be she has a mild case of Down syndrome, her thyroid gland doesn't work right, or she had her mother had an infection when the baby was in the uterus with several different organisms that can cause this problem. In the absence of being able to do some sophisticated testing, the child most likely just needs to take some vitamins to see how she does. I'm not sure. With the congenital infection, especially here in Honduras, without a whole lot that can be done to improve the situation, I'm going to a lot of good parental stimulation and some vitamins.
Well, we came to San Ramon, and while the telemedicine and computers were reviewed, a small team of doctors, myself, Kevin Hopkins,
Mike Toll did all the work.
Saw probably a couple hundred patients today, off the cuff and on the fly, and I think we made a lot of people sleep better tonight, and more important, we found a young lady who had a severe congenital heart problem that we think we can get her to the hospital and be treated. She should have been treated probably 10, 15 years ago, and maybe luck of the draw, we showed up at the right time, and she happened to come in at the right time, and with a little help from a lot of people, I think we'll get her back to the U.S. and hopefully improve her life and get her out of this really life-threatening situation. So it's been a good day overall. Tiring day.
Allá está el arquitecto.
This is a 4.5 meter dish. We use C-band. We use a larger dish because it takes less power, solar power, to power a big dish than a small dish. So from the dish there's a feed horn. The coax cable comes down here and goes into these transmitters. And so these are the power units, and see how small they are to do so much. You saw how fast it was. But the reason that is because the dish is so large. Now we do have to drain that when it rains, because it does make a big bird bath. But these are the power units. They take up very little power. And then out of these, the cable goes in, and it's actually an outdoor cable, goes in underneath the building and goes into the computer room, where you've seen it connects to all the computers. So really, this satellite is literally, it's 23,500 miles from the satellite. And so we're actually going 47,000 miles. But we're actually just as close to our head-in in Salt Lake City as if we put another dish in Salt Lake City. So to us, it doesn't matter whether we put a dish here or whether we put it in downtown New York. It's the same distance to us. And so therefore, you see why they're getting just as fast an internet as anybody could with copper lines or land-based.
Okay, go ahead.
Over here you see the batteries that are used to maintain the power that's generated by the solar panels, which are up on the roof. So it really doesn't take much to run this whole village, as far as the school, the community center, and the healthcare center, which you've seen. So this is the basic core of the project. Now from here, we can go to other villages. If you look around line of sight, there are places where there are other villages are. And all we do is put a little antenna, and we can go from this village to another village without putting up one of these big satellite dishes. We actually can do about 25 villages to every one of these satellite dishes. Now what happens is, as soon as a community like this sees what they can do with the community center and the school, then they start doing things like what you see here. Here's a solar panel that's providing power for the house. Now they pay for that themselves. That's what generates sustainability. And you'll see that pretty soon. You'll see that little panel on many of the houses around here, so they all have lights. And then the next thing you'll see is refrigerators. And that same wireless communication that we talk about can go to the house. Now that wireless communication delivers high-speed internet. It delivers all of the things that come from high-speed internet, which is, of course, distance healthcare, distance medicine, distance education. But it also delivers telephony. And so the next thing we're doing is actually putting a payphone with the cooperation of Honduras, which is the only legal provider of phone systems. So we'll be putting a payphone in here, and that payphone will generate revenue. Interesting story, by the way, in Honduras is one situation, but we actually were involved with some payphones, solar-based payphones, satellite, in the Amazon. And one village, when they first put it in, and these people are people that don't even have clothes. So they put this phone in, and the first thing that happened was the chief of the village assigned an individual to stand by the phone 24 hours a day in case there might be a call. But what they did do, interesting enough, is the very first, they handed out a bunch of phone cards to everybody. And today there's over 300 phone systems like that in the Amazon. And those phone systems, people are lined up almost 24 hours a day making phone calls. That's sustainability. That can happen right here. And that part of that revenue will actually go to pay for additional schools, healthcare. And then ultimately, as people buy things, like be it solar power, connectivity, And eventually they're going to buy things through the internet that will be delivered out here. I mean, this will be the e-commerce stuff. And a percentage of that, instead of calling it a sales tax, a percentage of that will be a revenue share with the community center, which will make it sustainable. So the more money that comes from growth around here, the more things that are affordable. And frankly, the less expensive they're going to get. The delivery of healthcare services, school services, things like that, are going to still remain fairly inexpensive. Part of the computers actually came in by donkey. But in this case, not all of it did. Although the weather was so bad, it was during the rainy season, so they actually had to take it off the trucks, dismantle it, and bring it in piece by piece. You see how it breaks up. But one of the other issues is that we have an arrangement with the government of Honduras, and ultimately they will be responsible for it. We actually get the participation, if necessary, of the military or somebody else that is responsible can take these things out. So that's one of the ways that we'll share in the responsibility with the Honduran government.
And who provides the technical support at the village?
That's a great question. One of the things that's nice about this is there are no moving parts. However, if you were in there interviewing today, there are two 15-year-old boys in there that run this whole place that have basically taught themselves. This system is completely controlled through our uplink in Salt Lake. There is nothing that we can't do in our Salt Lake office that we need to do here, unless somebody maybe broke a cable or something like that. And so in that case, there are still people we contract with throughout Honduras that actually provide support for these kind of things. And it takes, as you know, 4 hours to get out here. But it is very funny. We did have a break early on, and one of the engineers came out, and literally the townspeople, many of the people were waiting for them, saying, "I've got to get to my email. When are you going to get this fixed?"
That's the new culture. I have one last question, and that is, if you were to provide the setup in another village or another part of the world, how much would something like this cost, both in infrastructure and maybe
this village, the total village, everything you've seen in the village, which involves the people and the time and the effort and the labor and the shipping costs and the equipment, much more than just a satellite dish, has in a building has a little under $200,000 in it, which has been broken up by various grants. However, we don't need to, as I said, we don't need to put a satellite dish up in every single village. So actually today, we can do most of what we're doing for about $40,000 a site, which is less, and that's an average of 1,000 people per village. So that's less than $40 a person, because we don't need to put this in every village. We put the wireless. Then what happens is you give them the basics, and immediately that starts generating enough income because the telephony, people can actually collect and wire money, and all kinds of other services that can be provided, and then that can be moved off to the other areas with local loop wireless, which is what we do.
Aside from the children fascinatingly acquiring computer skills, what else? How else has this changed the village in San Ramon? The people. Has their health improved? Has there any skills?
I can't speak to health yet because I haven't been over to see the changes, but I can tell you that in the school, before there was only a maybe 5th grade maximum, and then now there were 4 teachers for 6 schools. There's now a kindergarten and there's a high school. What's really interesting is a lot of the students are already talking about how do I get to college. And what we don't want to happen is the brain drain of how you're going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris. So it's very imperative that we quickly transition to distance education all the way through college so they can stay here. That's the first change that we've seen. The second thing that we've seen is the ability for students and people to express themselves. And it's not just the students. As you walk around, you can talk to any person here, and you can see a whole different attitude from the other villages that we go to. There's hope in this village. There's excitement. There's enthusiasm. I was absolutely amazed. I'd heard of some of the micro enterprises that were going on, but we're now talking about making their own bread. They're making cash crop potatoes. I saw trousers being sewn that they haven't had this before. Shoes, handmade shoes that I was really impressed with. In fact, I hope they have my size because I'm going to buy some. But there are many more things happening at the e-commerce level and the micro-enterprise level. The best story, my favorite story though, is about our friend Don Doniel, who's 88 years old, and he's using Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word to go help different families do organic agriculture. And as you noticed by today in the lunch we had, that was substantially more food than you'd see anywhere else in any of the villages in the area. And I don't believe that everybody else went hungry. I think you can see the group. There's a different dress mode here. There's just a general good feeling, and I think that those are the kind of changes that really make me want to continue to be involved in this.